picture Quezon City as a future haven for entrepreneurship and creation. And today, you are going to create things that we could not even imagine.
Exciting days ahead. Welcome to the biggest hackathon.
Open your mind, you wanna see what I see. Gold boulevards.
This is Impact Hackathon. So this is idea to an MVP. How much time do you have to do the demo? 3 long minutes.
Moving forward, yung mga made-develop dito will be hopefully useful para sa ating bansa. Impact Hackathon.
C'est ma vie. C'est ma vie. Young and free, that's my life. C'est ma vie. C'est ma vie.
From these, 50 national winners will be chosen, to whom 10 million pesos worth of prizes will be given.
Enjoy, have fun as you put together your solutions, and we look forward to seeing the outcomes of what you create tomorrow.
You know, if I said that this is a dream come true, I would be lying, because never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that we would ever get to mount anything here at the Big Dome.
Good morning, hackers. Welcome to the Big Dome. And welcome to the world's largest hackathon.
To be honest, lahat po ng global ay local din. Ayaw ho natin na mabuhay sa isang lipunan na tanggap na lang na merong mga problema na hindi mareresolba, na merong mga problema na hindi kayang hanapan ng solusyon. Kayo po na nandito, compete today but collaborate tomorrow. That's something we need to see more of in our country.
I believe in your creativity. Yan po ang paniwala ng ating gobyerno na lahat po tayo sa Pilipinas may pag-asang mag-develop ng mga solusyon sa problema so that we can have a great country just like what our president would like to have.
Pag may problema ng climate change, problema ng transport, pwede natin makita yan bilang global issues. Pero alam ko po, yung pinakamalapit sa puso natin, yung naranasan natin sa ating araw-araw na buhay.
Rush hour economy. EDSA can accommodate about 280,000 vehicles daily. The multiple vehicles crossing EDSA Kakausap ka sa mga ginagmay naman is due as a Christmas season.
Everyone here is competing. Yes, we are all competitors, but after the time is up at nag-submit na kayo, nag-pitch na kayo, the winners, the losers, the participants, I hope we find ways to collaborate. Ang mga apps po natin, ang gawa ho natin, the things that we will create today, alam naman ho natin, hindi lang yan galing sa ating utak, galing rin sa ating puso, galing sa ating tiyan, galing sa ating karanasan.
As a really small desire.
As we try to tackle these global problems, we look and try to solve our situation where we are.
I think it's about time that we allow ourselves to dream again.
Look at the number of people that came And I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot about the culture that's here, the investment that's made in you, and how they want to see a better country, a better future.
Hindi siya love problem, ha? It's how much impact you will do for your country.
That is the purpose of this hackathon. To transform Quezon City with your help into a haven of technology, of entrepreneurship and innovation.
Sa lahat ng mga kapwa kong nangangarap para sa isang bayan na nangunguna sa teknolohiya at pagbabago, the Impact Hackathon is not just about numbers.
Impact doesn't happen in isolation. It's through collective action.
By your creative power, you are going to put the Philippines on the map and change the world.
Are you ready for the countdown? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, I'm Thomas Surpuk, an Associate Administrator for Science here at NASA, and I'm so happy to welcome you to SpaceApps. SpaceApps is a community of scientists, engineers, artists, and hackers coming together to address key issues here on Earth. At the heart of SpaceApps are data that come to us from spacecraft that are flying around Earth and are looking at our world, and we ask you to take those data to learn new things that help us. To learn more, go to spaceappschallenge.org or join the conversation at #SpaceApps.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Angular Philippines, and welcome to our event for today called Angular Session Talks 2021. I'm CJ Villafranca, one of the community leads of Angular Philippines, and we present you our special event for this September. So, for this September, it's in store for you. This is our Advanced Tech Talks 2021. So we have invited some of our special speakers, our experts in Angular Philippines, and at the same time, this is a 2 hour session event, and we will learn more about Angular Philippines. Okay, for us, let's introduce what is Angular Philippines and how can you reach us to us in our community. So now we have our website. So hooray for Angular Philippines. We have up or deployed our newly website. It's angularph.org. So if you want to be updated more in Angular, you can visit our site in www.angularph.org. So our seminars and events, workshops, and even mini conferences are all hosted and are all posted here. So if you want to be updated in our Angular PH community. So go to angularph.org. Okay, so next. So if you also want to be a volunteer in our community, so you are free to join our community. So just go also to our website, angularph.org, and just click contact us, and there's a choice of volunteer application. So if you want to be a designer or just a volunteer or even a community leader, so don't hesitate to contact us, and you are welcome to join our team. And for our event, this would not be possible with our partners. So thank you very much to all of our major partners, PWA or Progressive Web App Pilipinas, and NASA Space Apps Challenge, and Angel Hack. So thank you very much for making this event possible. Okay, so guys, students and professionals and experts out there, not just developers and all the fields that are present in our world. So you are invited to join the NASA Space App Challenge this coming October 2 to 3, 2021. So their event is called NASA Space App Challenge, the Power of 10. So you are invited to this one of the biggest conference in the world. So what to give you just a background of what is NASA Space Apps. So it's inviting coders, entrepreneurs, scientists, designers, storytellers, makers, builders, artists, and technologists to come together in a global virtual hackathon. During a period of 48-hour, participants from around the world will come together to create virtual teams and solve challenges using NASA's open source data. So everyone, you are invited to join the one of the biggest conference in the world, and you can share your ideas at the same time. It might be your time to develop your application, your best knowledge for improving the world. Okay. So if you want to register, just go to spaceapps.co, and if you already have your team, so you can all register your team if especially if you have your great idea. And next, we are also partnered with Impact Hackathon. So it's the biggest hackathons here in the Philippines. So it's the first 5G hackathon here in the Philippines. So actually, this is their fourth verticals already. So their fourth vertical is themed as the agriculture, and this will happen on October 7 to 9, 2021. So this is a 3-day hackathon, and if you want to know more about this hackathon, just visit their site or just search at Google at Impact Hackathon, and you can also register to join this hackathon. So for the link, you can go to impacthub.ph/hackathon if you have your great idea how to solve our current problems and issue with regards to agriculture. Okay, now let's go to our main event for this evening, and let's go to our speakers. So Angular Tech Talks 2021, we are teamed with Now in Advanced Concepts. So our first speaker for this night is Mr. Santosh Yadav, and he will be talking about optimizing an Angular application. So Santosh is a GDE for Angular GitHub Star, and an Auth0 ambassador. He loves contributing to Angular and NGRX. He works as a software consultant and writes for indep.dev, and he is also the author of the NGRX Builders package and part of Nest.js add-ons core team. He is also running Tech Talks with Santosh Talk Show, where he invites the industry experts to discuss different technology. So now let's invite Santosh, Mr. Santosh, to our virtual stage. Okay. Hi, Santosh. Yeah. Hi, Santosh. I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. How are you? Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, thank you again for accepting our invite, and yeah, it's really an honor to have you here in Angular Philippines. Okay. Yep. I think I guess you can start now on your presentation, and I'll share your screen.
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. And today we are going to see how you can actually optimize an Angular application. We'll see. I've already created some one small application with some screens, some random screens, and then we'll see how we can optimize and what's the existing issue in that particular app. So before we move ahead, my name is Santosh Yadav. I'm one of the GD for Angular GitHub Star from India, as well as Auth0 ambassador. And recently we started something called This Is Learning. I'm co-founder of This Is Learning community. So in case you want to actually come and write for us or get involved in the community, you can just drop me a DM. My Twitter handle is available here. You can reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or just go to my portfolio, santoshadav.dev. You will be able to probably see for a few more links, and then you can contact me wherever you want to. And this is my GitHub handle, so github.com/santoshadav.dev. And yep, let's move ahead. So let's see what we are going to do. Let me just show you the app, which I have to search really small app. Yeah, this is how it looks like. So it has some screens, some nav bars, and we'll see what we can do right with this particular application, how we can actually optimize it. Let me just zoom in so you can see. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get started. So prerequisite. I mean, this is basically optional. I mean, this is something which I have used, but it is applicable in case whatever UI library you decide to use, right? So of course, Angular is required, and we have used Angular Material in this demo, and I have chosen custom theme for Angular Material, and which is again optional, right? You can actually go ahead and choose anything in case you're using Bootstrap or any other CSS as well. So let's see. So first, I'll go to this employee screen, and on this screen, I have this get employee button available here. So which actually fetches some data, and it actually displays all the records on the page. So let's see what's the problem here. I'll just open the DevTools. So let's find out the element. So here is the table element, right? So if you see here, I mean, on this table, and if I click on get employee, right? So what we can see here is actually this particular TR, right? So if you see, I'm not doing anything. I'm not actually adding new record. I'm just calling the get employee to actually bind the data. But in this case, you can see this particular entire TR is actually getting repainted, right? So you can see this, right? So it is actually binding or actually repainting this data again and again, which is not necessary, right? I mean, if we know that okay, this list is going to be like changed in some specific cases, for example, if we add a new record or we delete a new record or delete existing record or update existing record. So how we can actually fix this? We don't need to actually go ahead and repaint everything again and again. It's a performance impact on our application. So let's see what we can do. I'll go to the employee component. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So this is our employee, and this is employee list component. And on get employee, what we are doing is we are actually calling the employee data and we are binding it. And then let's see what we have here. So we have, okay, this is ng4 emp list, and that's it. Let's see how we can actually avoid that. So first thing, it's a really easy fix for your application in case you already have ng4 and you're not using trackby. So what you can do is go ahead and add trackby first. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So we can say, okay, this is trackby, and then you can pass a function. And the function name is this trackby name, let's say. And I'll uncomment this. And then we'll talk about what this is. Okay. So what we did is we added a trackby attribute to our ng4, and let's go back and let's call getEmployee, and let's call it again. You can see it's actually not reprinting it again. Even so, it will be changed only in case you add a new record or you remove record or use update some records. So what is happening here? So here on trackby function, we are passing a function called trackby name. And we are saying, okay, whenever there is like a request to get the data, we are going to check actually Angular is internally going to check what is getting changed based on what it needs a key. So here we are saying this first name is unique. It's my unique key. It can be anything. I mean, in case you have ID or unique ID, you can use that. Or you can use the index value. It actually gives you index value of each row as well as the first parameter. So this I is actually the index value of each and every row. So in case you don't have any unique key, you can use this. But let me tell you, it will impact in case you have sorting or reordering of columns, right? So in that case, it may actually give you some performance impact. So I would say suggest in case you have some application, I am sure you might have the unique key available, use that unique key as the parameter for this trackby. So this is easy fix which we can do. Let's move on to the next improvement. Change section. I mean, I'm sure once you start learning about Angular, you hear about this topic a lot. So I have seen a lot of applications still not using change section strategy on push. I would suggest go ahead and do that here. Let's say this particular component, right? If you see this employee list component right now, what it is doing here. So this employee component actually receives some EMP list data. So right now what we are doing is this EMP list data is actually, we are subscribing inside the component itself, but where this employee list is getting used. So let's go back, and this is the component. So employee component.html. This is where it is getting used. So first, let's try to actually convert this component to on push. So what is the advantage of having on change section strategy on push? Remember, Angular uses. Let me just go back to the application. Yeah, right. So I'll go back and use Angular DevTools. So this is your component tree. So if you see, you have something called app main nav, then you have mat sidebar container, and this is app employee router outlet. So how actually Angular detects that something has changed? So Angular actually uses top to bottom approach. So what will happen is, in case I change something, right? So let's say I enter some string information, first name, last name, and submit, right? So Angular has to go ahead and detect what has changed. So what it will do is it will actually go to the entire Angular tree, your component tree, right? It will start from top and it will go ahead and check entire tree. So let's say here, your main component is app root, then you have app main nav, then you have this component called app employee. So it will start from root, main nav, and then app employee, right? And it will check everything. So even here inside app employee, if you see, you have app employee list. I'm not sure if it is visible. Let me just increase the font size of DevTools as well. So here, right? So you can see, even though I'm doing some change here, getting app employee list, it will go ahead and impact the entire application. And same applies in case I change something at app employee, which has nothing to do with app employee list, right? So here, if you see, I'm just entering some shipping information. Does it cause anything to change inside app employee list? No, it doesn't. But what will happen once you submit? So it will actually go ahead and change everything. It will run the change detection for each and every component, including app employee list. But I know, right? So in this case, app employee list can only change in case I am adding a new employee. Am I doing that? No. The answer is no, I'm not doing it. So let's try to convert this app employee list to use change detection strategy on push. So first thing which I will do is I will use this parameter, right? So I'll just use input parameter here to convert it to a reusable component. And then this get employee, I will remove it from here. And I don't need this employee service here anymore. I'll move this logic into my parent component and I'll make my child component as dumb component or reusable component. So here we will inject private employee service, which is type of employee service. And what else I need is, of course, I need ng on init event. So lifecycle loop, sorry. And let's go ahead and say implements on. And we will import, of course, on init from G Angular core. And let's go ahead and say here G on init. So my instance is not working. It's okay. And now we want to pass this data, which earlier we were actually subscribing from the service itself from my parent component. So here I'll create a property. I'll call this as the employee list. I don't want to actually name it both as same parameter or same variable name. So I'm just using employee list, and then here I can say this dot employee list is equals to the same code which we had here. And then the next thing which we have to do is we have to pass the employee list from here. So I can say, okay, this emp list is equals to this employee list, which is actually coming from my parent company. And let's see. Okay, we have to import employee service. Let's go ahead and do that. Import from dot slash. Okay. Let me just restart my Visual Studio Code. Something wrong. Services and employee service. So we will import employee service from here. And let's start application. Insert. And meanwhile, the application is running. Let's go ahead and convert this component. So I'll say, okay, this is change direction and change direction strategy on push. So this is the parameter which we need to pass. That's it. So what we have done is we have created our child component as a reusable component. We have moved the logic to our parent component. Now this is the reusable component and which work with change direction strategy on push. But you may have one question, right? So probably the question is, can we convert all the component to use change section strategy on push? Yes, you can do that. There are a few solutions which are available, and I'll talk about two. I'm not going to use them, but I'll let you know about those two solutions which we have available. So generally, which I use in my application, there is something called NGRX component store. So if you go to ngrx.io and in logs, you can read about state and NGRX component store. So NGRX component store is something which is similar to what you use, like service with observable, right? So you may have used service as observable a lot, or service with behavior subject a lot, just to maintain your state of the application. So you can actually, rather than using a service with behavior subject, you can actually go ahead and use NGRX component store, and you can convert your component to on push. That's possible. And let me just do one more thing, because this component, now this function does not exist, so this compilation is getting failed. Yeah, right. So now we have the data available, and we have and another solution, right? So this is one of the solution, NGRX component store. Or there is another solution which I generally I've recently started using it, and it's really amazing, which is known as RX Angular state. You can actually convert all the component to use your it uses almost similar approach as of NGRX component store, but it has some directives, I would say. So some directives like RX let and RX for, which is really amazing in case you are looking forward to optimize your templates as well. So you can combine your RX Angular state with RX let or RX for directives, which is available, and it is also a good solution. So choose whatever you want to. In case you are moving from, let's say, if you already have services with observable or behavior subject, I found RX Angular which are really great in terms of migration. It is really easy to migrate, and you can go ahead and use it. I'm planning to do a stream in future for RX Angular. So in case you want to follow my YouTube channel, you will get an alert whenever I'm doing it. So these are two solutions where you can actually convert all the component, even including your parent component. I'm talking about employee component here. You can also convert this component to use change section strategy on push. You can also do that using NGRX as well. In case you are using NGRX component, NGRX store, and you already have NGRX store in your application, then you might be already using it. But in case you don't have it and you want some solutions to be available, there are multiple ways, right? I mean, either you can just refactor everything, use NGRX store everywhere, so you have you know what is getting changed. In case you don't, I would say, and you don't need to actually handle the global state or the entire application state, start with RX Angular or NGRX component store, which will be easy, rather than rewriting the entire application. You can actually start from each and every component. So that's a great solution which you can do and implement or convert your components to on push. So let's see what's next. So this is the same diagram which I was talking about, component tree. So if in case something happens in, let's say, a component, so what is going to happen is it is going to traverse the entire tree. It will just go ahead and change app component, A component, AC component, and then it will also traverse this tree to change B component, BB component, BC component. But in case I convert, let's say, A component to on push, change section strategy on push, it will just impact A component. It is not going to traverse the entire tree. It will be performant than before. So this is just the same thing. I mean, but here I am actually showing that, okay, in case A component changes, and we already know that, okay, this component is on push. So what it will do is it will just do check for its children's, right? So A component, AC component, and the rest will be as it is. What's next? So of course, whenever you create an application and you keep adding the code or features to your application, the bundle sizes tend to increase, right? I mean, you are actually adding inside the same code base of code. So your bundle size is going to increase in future. So here, what I have done is I have actually created, or this is the what you can say, bundle size for this particular application. You can see the bundle size is around 1.02 MB. This is production build, and the main bundle is of around 1005, which is of course around 1 MB. And it gives you nice representation of what is included in your bundle, right? It is what will be on your production. So here, let me just increase the zoom in again. So you have, okay, node modules is around 669 KB, where you have Angular material, you have Angular CDK, you have Angular animation, router, forms, common. And here in your app size, your code size, which you have written, is around 335 KB, which includes 115 KB of employee module. Then you have department module and dashboard module, around 109 and 108 KB. So this is your entire application size. And this is my main bundle. It means this will be the size which will be loaded once a user requests for your application. But if I see this application, let's go back. Right. So if I see this application, of course, once I start this application, I'm going to access employee. Do I need to download the chunks which is part of dashboard or department? The answer is no. Why I'm doing it. So this is where you can actually go ahead and utilize the lazy loading feature, or you can configure lazy loading for your application to reduce your main bundle size. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to create one for department. So here, let's see how we can actually go ahead and lazy load this particular module. First thing, let's see our routing module. So here you have department and department component. So we are actually saying, okay, in case I request for department, just go ahead and download or render the department component. That's it. Let's now try to lazy load this particular module. So first thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to create a module for this. Right now, department component does not contain its own module. So here I'm going to say ng generate C, and I'll say module name is department. I'll say -FN flat because by default, whenever you create a module, it will be created inside a folder. So -FN flat, so it will not create a folder. I'm going to flat true. And what I also need is I need a routing module, -FN routing. Let's see. So I'm supposed to get two files. Okay, ng generate component, ng generate module, right? So ng generate and then module department name. And now I got two files, department routing module, and we have department module. So let's go ahead and refactor it now. So department module is where I'm going to add some code. Here we have declarations, department component. So rather than actually registering my department component into app module, I am going to do it here. So let's remove department component from here. Just Control C, and this here. Okay, so now my main module does not know anything about department module, and we will change this. So on department, I am not going to pass now component. I am going to say, okay, load children. So somehow again this is broken. Not sure why. So here, so I'm using this load children to actually lazy load this particular module. So what we have here is load children, which this is just syntax. Then we are importing this module, and then we are saying, okay, go ahead and download department module. But we have to, of course, make some changes in department module as well. So let's go back, and on department routing module, we will add this code. So we'll say, okay, this is my lazy loaded component. And so here, I'm going to say path blank, and then which component needs to be loaded? Of course, department component. This. And we have already, if you see, department routing module is already available in department module. So we have already imported it. So it knows about this route. So what we have done right now is we are saying, okay, now this department module is lazy loaded, so it won't be the part of my lazy loaded bundle. So let's go ahead and see the slide, and then we'll go ahead and that. This is so how it helps, right? So of course, what we have done right now is we have configured it, but how it is going to help? So it will create separate feature bundle. It can load bundles on demand, and it will serve less code on first serve. So this is what we are going to do. So let's run the application again. So let's see if it is getting compiled. I'm sure there won't be any error, but let's verify that. Just make sure that the application works as it is. And we have map paging into map table. Okay, so employee department dashboard works as it is. There is some problem here. Let's see what it says. Cannot read properties undefined of sort change department data source. Okay, some I think some import is missing, but let's try to generate a bundle again, and we'll see that npm run. npm run analyze. It will give us the same data which we had earlier, right? So see what we get now. Same data which we have here. It will regenerate again. So I'll let you know about what your tool I'm using right now. It will be ready in a few seconds. So if you see right now, it has only one bundle and it's around 1.02 MB. Let's see what happens once we lazy load. And it's ready. So if you see, we have already getting some lazy chunks. You can see 233 ES5 and which is around 112. So now it is ready. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah. So if you see here now, your main bundle, which was around 1005 KB, is reduced to 916 KB. So we have already reduced around 100 KB of bundle size from our main bundle, and you won't be able to see department code here. So because it is part of another chunk, and which is this one. So if you see entire department code is part of another lazy loaded module or lazy loaded chunks now, so it won't be downloaded by default. So we'll be saving some time for your end user, and you can do the same for other module as well. You can actually do it for dashboard as well, right? So dashboard is again actually which is used once we click on the URL. So you won't need that particular code by default. So you can actually go ahead and do that for dashboard module as well. And you can do it internally as well, right? So for example, you have dashboard, and inside dashboard, you all again have some routes available. So what you can do is you can actually convert them into lazy loaded modules. So only you download the initial chunk or initial code which is required to run the dashboard, not the internal routes or internal code which is actually available on your navigation, right? So you can do that as well. Let's move down. So You can also preload the lazy loaded modules. I mean, it's up to you, right? So there are two ways available, which is really performant. So one is of course using Nginx Quick Link. So Nginx Quick Link actually loads the module with preloading strategy. You can actually provide multiple preloading strategy inside your how you want to actually lazy load your modules. There is something called preloading where you can actually say, okay, once application is actually idle, go ahead and download all the lazy loaded chunks in background. Yeah, using Nginx Quick Link, you can also configure it to be downloaded once you, let's say, you have a URL, right? I mean, you have this particular dashboard department, the links which is available. So using Nginx Quick Link, you can actually configure it to download this module once we hover above this particular link. So if I hover above dashboard URL or dashboard link, it will in background, it will actually go ahead and start downloading that lazy loaded chunk. It is possible using Nginx Quick Link. You can also use guest parser. It's a solution again, which is there is something called, I think it is part of Nginx Quick Link itself. So you can use guest parser. Guest parser uses Angular Google Analytics. So in case you already have Google Analytics available for your application, I think this is a great choice because guest parser, what it does is it actually lazy loads the model based on user interaction. So let's say you had a user in past who came to your application, he went to dashboard and he never went to department. So what will happen is actually based on your analytics data that, okay, this user never uses the department module, it will never download the department module code for your end user. It will only go ahead and download dashboard related code. So that is something which you can go ahead and do using guest parser and Google Analytics. But in case you have Google Analytics available, right? Next, so what else? What else you can lazy load? So you can lazy load images. Of course, this feature is available for all the browsers now, so you don't have to worry about apart from in case you are using Safari. So using this loading equals to lazy attribute, you can actually configure your image to be lazy loaded. So what I mean by lazy loading of images. So in case your image is available on your viewport, in that case, it will be downloaded. So for example, let's say you have 10 images on your page, but only one is visible. So only that particular image will be downloaded at that point. And in case your user scrolls down and accesses the other images, based on your viewport, it will be downloaded in background. So that's something which is possible. And now next, let's see what is the next improvement which you can do. And this is something which exists in most of the code which I have seen. Still, I think it still exists, but I think you should not be doing it. Shared module. So you may have seen this approach. So where actually what developers do is they create a shared module and then they import all the modules which is needed or not needed. They just do it blindly because they know, okay, this particular module has everything which can be used across. So what they do is they keep dumping every module, whichever is required, into a single module, and they call it as shared module. But this is a really bad approach because you never know what is getting used inside which code. So you import the shared module everywhere you go, right? So whenever you create a new module, let's say it just needs forms module or it needs, let's say, mat icon module. These two modules are needed, but you still import everything. Your code will become unmanageable. But there is one more thing, which a small POC which I did. So let's see. So in past, I did a POC where I created an application, small application. So my application size was 382 KB. This is without adding anything. So 382 KB, which is fine, right? Then I added few modules and my application size grew to 432 KB. So in this image, you can see, okay, this is 423 KB now. And this is how my shared module looks like. And I'm sure you might have seen this in a lot of applications or a lot of code bases which you have used. So let's see what happened. So once I added the modules, I added shared module, my application grew, went up to 639 KB. Then I decided, okay, my 639 KB is more. So what I decided is I will lazy load the chunks. So I did that. I created some lazy loaded modules, and then you can see rather than actually decreasing the bundle, it went up to 705. So okay, now what else? What we can do? So I decided to actually go ahead and remove the shared module. And then I went down to 664 KB. But you can see the main difference is your main bundle. So here, when I added just the modules, I'm not lazy loading anything. My bundle was 472 KB. After lazy loading and removing shared module, my main bundle was 311. So around 160 KB got reduced. And my lazy loaded chunks, let's talk about that. So here you can see 7 ES 2015, which is 90 KB. Here you can see it was 1.28 KB, which is really small, but most of the code was actually part of this one, 1-ES 2015. So you have 216 KB available here. And then it is a common chunk. So it is a common chunk which is available, but I don't need that, right? I mean, I don't need common chunks to be that big, right? What I need is my lazy loaded modules to actually drive whatever needs to be loaded. And that's what happens once you actually remove shared module and then import the modules which are needed. So here you can see your 7 ES15 is 90 KB, your 1 ES 2015 got 79 KB, and polyfills is again, of course, you know about polyfills, but 6 ES 2015, right, which was 1.78 KB, which went up to 16 KB. But the main difference you can see is your main bundle, right? Main chunks is actually reduced by 160 KB. So don't use shared module. I will try to actually use SCAM approach where you have single component module. I mean, every component, every directive, every pipe has its own module. The advantage is that it makes your application really scalable. So in case you want to create some new screen, you know what modules needs to be included, right? Okay, I need this particular component, I need this directive, I need this pipe, and you can only import those into your component. It keeps your code clean as well in long term and easy to fix the issues in case you get any. Always check what is in your bundle. So it does. You should not actually just deploy anything blindly. You should know, okay, what's getting included in my bundle and how you can do that. So Angular team actually suggests to use Source Map Explorer. So what I did is I created builder. I created a builder on top of Source Map Explorer called NGX Builder/Analyze, which I have used in this application as well. So if you remember, I did npm run analyze, and which internally does the same. So all the steps actually are done by that. So you can just do ng add, and then you can do ng run your project name :analyze. So let's see npm run analyze. If I run this, it will actually create the production build with source map enabled, and it will give you this data, which we can see on here. So it will give you this dashboard where you can see, okay, these are the things which are included in my bundle, and then you can decide what needs to be lazy loaded, what is extra, what you don't need, and what is actually causing your applications to grow big, right? In case you, let's say, end up with 5 or 6 MB of build and you are not able to figure out, okay, what's going wrong. So you can just go ahead and run this command to analyze your bundle, and then you can see, okay, probably you are using some CommonJS module. I'll just talk about it. Let's see. So always use budgets. I'm sure you know about budgets. So here, whenever you create your production build inside Angular.json, you have budgets available here. You can actually set how much size of your application is acceptable. So in case here you can see its maximum warning is 2 MB. If it goes beyond 2 MB, it will just give you a warning. In case it goes above 5 MB, the initial bundle, then it will give you error. So same for component style. So I have seen some application where styles are so huge that actually it causes your application size to grow. I mean, more than 200 KB, 300 KB. I've seen those. So in case it goes beyond that and you are not aware of it, I mean, there's something wrong. So always try to see what is getting included in your bundle. It gives you, the great thing about it is it also gives you idea about what size of your components are. For example, here you can see your employee component.html is around 110 KB. If it is too big, I mean, of course, what you can do is you can go ahead and check, okay, let's go ahead and see employee component.html here. And let's go ahead and see SCSS. So what we are importing here is we are using importing CSS variables, right? SCSS variables, which is required. That's it. That's what we are importing. In case you think, okay, there are some extra import which is available here, you can remove this and decrease the size of SCSS. Or in case you have nested SCSS, which also causes your component size to grow. So you can actually remove this, refactor, whatever you want to. In case you have some extra CSS which is not required, just remove them, right? So those are the things which you can check. So always do this before you deploy your application on production, and set the bundle size so you know how much your application size is growing. For example, let's say the advantage of keeping the budgets is you added some feature. Okay, that's pretty normal. And then after you added that feature, so suddenly your application size grew up by 500 KB. In case you don't have bundle budgets, you will never know about it. And probably that's a mistake. Probably you are actually importing too much, or you are importing something which is not required, or you are not you have not done, let's say, lazy loading, right? So what you can do is build on every PR. Of course, it will check your build will run, and it will check, okay, if your budgets are actually going above or below, right? So that's, if it is going above, it will go give you the exception that your build will fail basically. And you can check what went wrong, why the application size grew. Is it a mistake? If it is a mistake, go ahead and fix it, right? Discuss with the team. It should not be that, okay, you added a feature and then you want to went onto the production without bothering about your bundle size. That's very rare, right? I mean, you will if it grows by 1 MB and no one knows about it, if it actually reached, or my application size has reached 6 MB. So that's very shocking, and I think it will also impact your application, right? Once you deploy it on production, I mean, your users needs to actually load those extra code. So those are the things which you can avoid by setting the budgets. There are multiple types of budgets you can set. So you can set for bundles, specific bundles. You can set it for initial size of the app, which we have done. You can set it for all script. Where does it actually used? So remember, in your angular.json, you have something called scripts. So you can actually include any scripts which needs to be loaded. So here you can actually, all script means this entire script size should not go beyond this. So you can do that. You can set it for entire app in case you don't care about the bundles, individual bundles. You can also set it for component style. So as I said, set it to some minimum numbers. For example, 10 KB is something which is acceptable. And in case you have big styles, 65, 70 KB is okay. But if it goes beyond that, just go ahead and check what's wrong with your styles. Any script, same, but any of the script should not go beyond this. And it doesn't matter, right? I mean, any file should not, any bundle should not go beyond this particular size. Use strict mode, and in Angular 12, the strict mode is enabled by default. So in case you have not enabled it, go ahead and enable it. In existing application, do it incrementally. Don't try to actually enable strict mode for entire application. You will be like wasting too much time fixing all those typing issues. So in case you already have an application, do it incrementally. Tree-shakeable libraries. Now, this is something which is really important in case you have an entire enterprise application. In enterprise application, what we do is we create, of course, a lot of libraries, and then we try to create your app, or try to keep your app as small as possible, right? And you split the entire logic into libraries. What you can do is, the disadvantage of course, Angular libraries are they are not tree-shakeable. It means if I am using a library and I'm adding importing a lot of things from that particular library, everything will be loaded. I mean, it's not like that your Angular application will leave them. So it's everything is loaded in and part of your bundle. What you can do is you can make your libraries tree-shakeable using the same approach as Angular Material does. So if you see here, Angular Material uses the secondary entry points. I'll just show you the shared module. So in Angular Material, you may have seen after Angular 8, the import has changed, right? Angular Material /table, paginator sort. So it means whatever I can import whatever I need. That's it. The same thing we can actually do it with Angular libraries as well. So right now, Angular libraries have a single entry point, so you cannot do it, but you can add a secondary entry point to make your Angular's libs tree-shakeable. It has already good support for secondary entry points using ng packager and Bazel. So you can choose whatever you are using and convert your Angular libraries to use secondary entry points. In case you don't know how to do it, I already have an application where we have created some libraries with secondary entry points. You can just go to, let's see, I'll share the link here. I'll share the link to a PR, so you can, and this is the repository where I have configured secondary entry point. You can refer to this. I'll just share it in chat so it can be shared with everyone. And there is a pull request. Let me just see if I can find that out. No. Yeah, secondary entry point. So this is the feature request which will walk you through how to add secondary entry points. In case you want to go through an video how to do it, there are blogs available, but if you prefer videos, I have created a video as well, how you can actually configure secondary entry points and how you can create Angular libraries as well. So it covers both. Let me just share the link to that as well. There are two videos. Two videos actually. One video is with Angular CLI, another video is with Angular, NX. So you can do the same with both. I mean, using Angular CLI or using Angular, NX DevTools. Always use ES module. I am sure now, if in case you have upgraded above Angular 10, from Angular 11, actually Angular CLI itself gives you a warning that you are using CommonJS module and try to use ES module. So almost all the libraries has ES module support. So try to use ES module. Don't use CommonJS because it cannot be tree checked. So if it's already a ES module, it can be easily tree checked. But if it's a CommonJS module, it won't be. So avoid using CommonJS module. And as I said, now actually Angular CLI gives you a warning that CommonJS is used. You can use allowed CommonJS dependencies property to actually disable this warning, but I will suggest not to do it unless you cannot find a replacement. Use CDN. This is really important. I'm sure many of you are already doing it. So use CDN to actually serve the assets. There are advantages, of course, low network latency, right? It will be downloaded from your nearest server. So in case you are trying to access an application which is deployed on US, but somehow we are using CDN, right? So it will be downloaded from, let's say if I'm trying to use it from Singapore, so it will be downloaded from Singapore. So have availability and better analytics. So it gives you a good idea about from where your users are actually trying to access your application, and it won't be down, right? I mean, CDNs are actually almost trusted. They never go down, and it decreases the server load as well, right? So you don't have to keep everything on your server. The other approach is, of course, keeping everything in assets. That's bad, right? I mean, you are keeping too much load on your server. Always use prod build and use zip minification. This was a problem for a longer period of time now. Thanks to Angular team, what they have done is by default, you will get a production build. So remember when in Angular 8 or 9, what you when you used to do an ng build, what you used to get is, of course, a development build. But it's really hard to actually teach everyone that okay, ng build is not a production build. So now Angular does a production build by default. Use zip minification. I'm sure most of you might be doing it already, but in case you have not, just go ahead and ask your team to actually configure zip minification on the server. So it will serve a lot lesser than, for example, here this application size is how much, right? 1005, around 1 MB. So this application is around 1 MB. But if you actually if you actually do the zip minification, it will be around how much? I have seen 6 MB app goes around 700 KB. So 916 KB, I mean, probably 100 KB, right? That's what you are going to, what your users are going to download. So that's the difference zip minification makes. So make sure you have enabled zip minification. And there are some references which I have actually there are some blog posts which is available here, so you can actually go to there was a problem which I found in my application when we are using SCSS. So you can actually read about it, how if you're using SCSS properly in your application. I found it in multiple applications which I end up optimizing. So you can actually go ahead and read this blog post around shared module. I also wrote a blog post why not to use shared module, and there is a performance checklist which is created by Mimco. You can actually go through this checklist whenever you are trying to deploy something on production. Just go through this checklist that you are following all these steps, and that's it for the day. In case you have any question, feel free to ask, and in case you don't have any questions right now, you can actually just send me a DM on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'd be happy to help you.
Okay, yeah. So thank you very much, Santosh, for that great talk. So yeah, developers out there, you have now an idea how to optimize and make your Angular more performant wise. Yeah, once again, Santosh, thank you for that talk. So guys, if you have questions, you can just leave your questions here in our comments in our FB live. So if you missed the talk of Santosh, we have our own YouTube channel, and we will post our talk again. So once again, Santosh, thank you for the talk, and we hope you to have again in some future events. Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot for the invitation.
Yep. Thank you, Santosh. Okay, so guys, before we go to our next talk, I think let's just have a water break or a coffee break, so around 2 minutes, and we will go once again. Okay. All right. So we're back, and now let's proceed to our next speaker. And I will introduce our next speaker for this evening, and he is Mr. Greg Racho. So he will be talking about how to use event-driven architecture with NGRX. So Greg has been coding for 14 plus years and always looking to improve the code. He's currently the CTO of Cobiro, where he coached developers how to engineer solutions by using continuous delivery, TDD, and ATTD, domain-driven design, agile and enterprise-level design, and architectural patterns. So let's us welcome in our virtual stage, Mr. Greg. Hi, Greg.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Yeah, your voice is clear. So, what time is it you in your country?
It's 2 o'clock.
Oh, 2 o'clock. So, good afternoon, Greg. Yeah, and it's evening here, and thank you very much for joining our community, and yeah, thank you for having for accepting our invite, and it's really a pleasure for Angular Philippines to have you. Yep.
Thank you for having me. It's looking great.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you can proceed now, Greg, to your presentation, and I'll share your screen.
All right, perfect. Hello, my name is Greg, and as mentioned already, I'm CTO in Cobiro. I've been working with Angular since AngularJS. So in general, I would like to talk to you about event-driven architecture. It's because event-driven architecture is a solution we've engineered here in Cobiro, and we want to open source that piece of library, this software NPM package, so you all can use it, but more on that later. But generally, you know, like coding in Angular for so many years, I've always hit the wall when moving from like a medium-sized apps to the large enterprise-level apps. So in general, think about it this way: that you start coding and it's like a POC, or it's like a simple architecture pattern. You just have a services, and then you move towards maybe states, because you move from like this very small, not very optimized application towards much bigger, medium-sized application, where you probably want to use things like NGRX or some state management system. And then, it helps you to actually reduce the calls to the backend, have some, state that helps your components share it, and, it's much more sound. And so the state is pretty common pattern and used in many people, in many companies. However, eventually you're gonna hit the wall again, because you will have those states that need to communicate between each other, right? So what you're gonna do typically is to dispatch an action from one state to another, and that's when the problem starts to happen. So I'm gonna solve that problem for you in front of your eyes here using our package. So the reason why, so I used to teach event-driven architecture in general, but a very common question I've been asked is like, how is this different from NGRX? So this is why actually today I want to show you that it's two different things. NGRX is one thing and it's great, you should use this, but then EDA, which is event-driven architecture, can be used together to actually solve some engineering problems. So let's dive into it. So what you will learn today. So today you're gonna learn about coupling and cohesion. This is a very common problem in computer programming, not only in Angular, not only on front end, everywhere, every computer programs, whether it's a GUI programming, any programming language, C#, Java, all suffer from the same problem, coupling and cohesion. If you can understand these two concepts, you're gonna make better programs. So you will learn about event-driven architecture. So I will tell you what is it, how does it work, and what are the benefits. So let's dive into it. So this is a picture taken from Wikipedia. It's pretty standard. So on top you can see a good computer design, and on the bottom you can see a bad computer design. So an idea is very simple. So on top here, I hope you can see my mouse. This is one module. Whether it could be an NX library or it could be a project generated with NGG. But think about it like a bigger piece of your software in your application. So like in a library or maybe an app itself. So it's a it's a module, obviously, but it's very big, right? So it can, in this example, we contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classes, but it can be much bigger than that, right? So generally there is some boundary. So the squares here represent the cubic really represents a whole module, a whole piece of software that should be able to be, you should be able to hide it or remove it from your application, and then it should not affect any parts of the system, or at least very limited amount. So here on the right side, you have another module, and it's also a similar story. It has many classes, many sub-modules inside of it, but then the green line shows a communication point. So usually how you would solve that, you would have a facade design pattern. So you would have only, facade of module A and facade of module B would be able to communicate with each other. So, engineers agree this is a good computer design because it's loosely coupled and high cohesion. So on the bottom, you have a bad computer design, which is highly coupling and low cohesion. So what are these two mysterious terms? So let's start with coupling. Coupling is easy to understand. It means how many connection points do you have in between the modules, right? So if I have a green dot here and green dot on the right side, that means I have one connection point. So the coupling is one, you could say. How do you know coupling is being used? Well, it's very simple in TypeScript, actually. All you have to do is to look in your import file. So you can search of occurrence of imports from outside, like, from another modules, or you can just simply look in your TypeScript files on top and then see if you're importing something from another module. So ideally, you would not do that. The best coupling is no coupling. It means the two modules don't know about each other at all. That's the best. One coupling point is pretty good. Actually, it's it's still coupling, but it's good. It's only one place I have to go if I have to remove something or update something, right? But on the bottom, you can see the red lines. You see, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coupling points, and even worse, some dots have are double coupled, right? So with these two, this means it's high coupling, because 5 for 5 classes, that's a lot. Okay, so the lowest the coupling, the better. Now, what is cohesion? A cohesion means how well software inside the module is connected. So these are the blue or navy blue lines, right? So if a module connects well inside of its own module and doesn't go outside, but actually connects with the other ones, it's considered high cohesion. And it's a good thing because it's usually, obviously, you have to be wary about things like don't repeat yourself principle and so on. And, you should use solid principles as well. But in general, engineers agree it's a good thing because it fosters reusability of your software. So it's in general, it's a good thing. So here you have a high coupling, and here as well, it's pretty high coupling. Then in here, you see you have some dots inside that are not really connected. And also like the depth of connection also matters. So, if this dot, so if all of them connect inside, communicate from single dot, that's pretty good thing because it means you have layers, right? So every time you inject something in your constructor, you actually create a layer in your software. So you also want to make sure that the layers are well structured, and you don't skip layers when you communicate inside your module. So be aware of that, right? And again, how do you know it? Well, you just look in your constructors, and it's also shown in the imports on top of a TypeScript file. So that's pretty cool. So here we have a low cohesion because things are not very connected, and here we have high cohesion. It's a good thing. You can reason about it because think about it, what are the problems related to that? So let's dive into it. So one of it is called spaghetti code. Spaghetti code or lasagna code. It's a very old term actually, and people use it left and right. And the concept is very simple, but I think it's misunderstood by many developers. So let's get into it. So what is a spaghetti code? Spaghetti code is something that, like you can see in the example here, many layers that are not that are sort of structured, but they connect with other layers, and there is no structure, so it looks like a spaghetti on the plate, right? So the connection points, let's say I would have a service that would be injected in a component, and then the component would be maybe injecting some store, and then the store would also use the service, right? So you can see the connection is like all around the place. So it's not, so the idea would be also in Angular, you should go from top to bottom, right? So you have a top layer like a service, goes to application layer, which is the store, and then application layer goes to maybe some other layers, but eventually it will hit the UI layer like a smart component, and then smart component could be using presentational components. So an idea is don't call store from your presentational components, always communicate between smart and presentational in one way, and then also always never call like a service directly in your smart components if you have a store, right? Just communicate with the store layer. So this is very important. Okay, so the spaghetti code means you pretty much skip the layers inside your modules, or you call another layers from another modules. So that's spaghetti code. And it's a bad thing, of course, right? Then we have a cognitive load. So imagine if you would like to change something or really understand what is happening inside of your modules. Well, it's really difficult because the cognitive load of, badly coupled, tight coupled and low cohesion code means you have to not only understand one module, you have to understand all the modules you connect with. Because, if you want to change something, it will break things in the other end. And this is called fragility. So fragile system is when I change something. So imagine, you're in the enterprise, right? So you probably more than one developer. So you probably have a teams of developers. I don't know, 20, 30 developers in 5, 6 different teams, maybe 8. So each team will work on its own piece, and then will change things as they will, which is good. But then if they actually couple with the other modules, they will affect the way their interfaces are structured. And then eventually the other team will not even know about it. They will not. Either you have to communicate to them, which is expensive and time consuming, or you will most likely not even tell them. And then they will start, seeing breaking code. So this means your architecture is fragile. Changes in one place affect the other ones. So it's a very bad thing. I'm sure you experienced that. Then it also increased maintainability, like you have to maintain so many connection points and there is no structure. So you're actually gonna suffer quite heavily if you don't, create some sort of decoupled way between the modules. And then obviously as cognitive loads grows, complexity grows too. So you will start experiencing, maybe some if statements and switch cases, and some client from module A will need that sort of interface, and client from B having the same resource from your module will have an interface B, and then it's difficult to connect these two things. So you actually start breaking the open close principle from Solid, and you start breaking the Liskov principle, and things go out of hand very fast. So let me show you what we're going to be building now, or what I already built, so you can have a look at it. But in the end, you can head into github.com/Kobiro/Ida. You will see the example there. But let me show you an actual code. So this is it. It's a very, very simple application. So generally think about it this way. So you have 3 modules here. One is called category module. Obviously, this is a very simple example, right? So you shouldn't worry about it so much. But in a real life example, that would be multiple pages, and it could be so many things. But think about it like a dashboard page. This is a common example. So in here, I have my categories. I have two categories, shoes and jackets. And then I have products, and I have many products for each category. So I have a leather shoe for $100 whatever you can say, and then there is one more hidden module here called notifications. So let me show you how it works. Let's say I want to see jackets, right? So I click on the jackets. Now I have my leather jacket, and I also get the notification that category jackets was selected. Obviously you would make so many different ways of dealing with notifications, but in general, the point is, if I click on something in one place, it should send a notification, and then it should also affect the category, the products module. So you see, I have so many ways of actually doing that. But so each of them is actually a separate module, separate library using NGRX state inside of each one of them. So generally, it looks simple, but it can be done very badly. So how can we do it actually? So this is one proposed way. So we could do that NGRX categories library will know about the products, because it needs to dispatch an action whenever we whenever we select a category on the list, and then the NGRX products needs to change the represented list, because once I want to show shoes, and the other moment I want to show jackets, right? And then also the categories needs to send a notification that the category was selected. Obviously, it can go in so many ways, but you can already see I have a coupling, right? Because the categories knows about the products and categories knows about the notification, even though it's such a simple thing as just a single notification action. This point is sending an action, and you can think, hey, but this is already decoupled, it's really cool. Well, not really, because think about it this way. You can always do this the test of your system. Try to delete a package, try to delete a library. How many places you have to go to change? Well, if I want to delete the categories, I will have to go to products and remove that connection point. And if I want to remove, I would probably have to change something in notification, because we don't want to keep the dead code, right? Or what if I want to remove the products? Well, I will have to go to the categories, because categories dispatch an action called, select category. And that's not good, right? Because I have to go to two modules just to change one thing. So ideally, you would avoid that at all costs. So what can solve that? Well, you know what? Let me actually show you an actual example. So this is a code. So this is how it looks like. So I have a toolbar, and then there is a notification, and then I have a main section with the card, which has categories and the products, exactly what you saw. So you see, if I would like to deliver an information from the categories, here is a very simple template. So whenever I change a list, things on the list, then I need to dispatch store, dispatch, select category. So obviously store is a nice interface. It's a global, bus of information. That's good. But the problem is the select category, because look, I told you, you go to the imports, and then what you see? You see, I'm importing something from another module. If I delete that module by accident, or if I change the select category, and keep in mind, if you're the only developer, or if you with your friend, or maybe within one team, you can communicate that. But in enterprise, you would have like multiple teams, and they would have different release cycles. Maybe they want to move towards micro front ends or whatever. But generally, think about the big thing. So a small thing like this can cause. It can be a big for the enterprise, right? So changing that, obviously, if it's in one code base, that's good. But what if you have multiple NPM packages? that one team is working on npm package. No, you will not see that very easily, right? So you have to be aware of that. So this is one coupling point. And also, but at least it's not a spaghetti, because from the component I'm calling the store action, which is cool. And then coming back to the product, inside the product, I have my let me see. Coming back to the category. Oh yeah. So normally, how do we actually notify, right? Well, the way you can do it, this is one way. Obviously, you could do it directly from the component, but your components should be as skinny as possible. At least that's the rule we use it here. We use the clean architecture approach, where we want to actually keep our framework usage to minimum, and just keep the component what it should do. It should actually display the HTML template. It shouldn't contain business logic. That's why we have store. So if you know how NGRX works, it's recommended to use an effect. So let's go into here, and then I have the products effect. You see, so what is happening here? This is a by the book example. I would have a create effect that will listen to categories change, and if that happens, it will use another action called notify, right? And look, where does it come from? It comes from notifications. So technically, I'm having another coupling point, which is pretty hidden for the naked eye. You would have to figure this out at the right effects and then find it there. In enterprise, this function could be much longer. So it's sometimes difficult to spot all those things. So, of course, you solve the problem, you solve the code situation, what your product owner asked you for, obviously it's going to work. But then, if you're not careful and if you don't have an architect who's going to point this out to you, you will actually start experiencing those issues of coupling very fast. This is 3 modules, and I already have 2 coupling points if I was not careful. So think about scale. So this is not good, right? Because as I said, removing just a category or product will be quite expensive for the developer. So what can we do? Well, we can use event-driven architecture. So here we go. What is event-driven architecture? So event-driven architecture is an architecture based on events. I guess you do, the name says itself. But think about it. It's a way of creating loosely coupled and highly cohesive modules. It's very important that you think about it as a strategic framework. It's not a tool that is meant to, force you to think force you to use some specific way of coding. You can use it anyway. You can use it in your components. You can use it in your store. Today's session is about NGRX. So I'm going to show you the usage in the effects as well. But generally, you can use it. It's not an architecture per se. It's not. You can use it with state. You can use it with just service smart component architecture. You can use it with CQS. You can use it with CQRS. You can use it with hexagonal architecture. You can choose whatever you want to use for your module architecture. And this is only a communication way. So it's strategic framework. So you look at strategic level. It's not tactical that deals with the module. It's actually strategic that deals with all your application. So it does not influence the technical architecture of each module, which is really, really cool. It's just a tool. And then you can use it with NGRX, of course. And then events, very important thing to remember, events are asynchronous. So you might run into eventual consistency problem. So this is a bit of a hard part when you learn it first. So you might be tempted to use things like behavior subject to communicate in between, but don't do that. It's only to send a data between modules. That's it. It's not store. Use NGRX for that. It's only to send information that something has happened in your system. All right. So let's look at it. So here are those modules I discussed. So the green boxes represents each of the library. So you have NGRX products, NGRX categories, and NGRX notifications. Ideally, they would not know about each other. Right now, we have a connection point. So I'm not going to repeat myself. You can go back to my presentation. But how can we actually decouple it? So the blue hexagon represents communication, represents the page where I actually put those modules. So the one I showed you with LIP, NGRX products, smart component in it, right? So how can we actually notify about the category change or selection? Well, we need something called event bus. Event bus is an application interface. It's an application bus, really service that will go around all your application, and whoever needs to send an information will send it to the event bus. So the way it works is categories will send category selected event on the event bus. It's not sending to products directly. It's not sending to notifications directly. It's just sending to the event bus. And then the second part is that each module can subscribe to it from the event bus. So we invert the dependency. That way, you can have an event handler that will listen to specific event in each of the modules, and then will push a data inside of it. So how does it actually work? Let me show you an example. So what is happening is, let me go slowly. So let's get back to the NGRX. So we know we have a category, right? So I would like to send so whenever I select something on my list, I would like to notify the rest of the system. But you see, I don't have any dependency here. I only have the store. So, but that's a good thing. Like if I have a store, I shouldn't really dispatch it from the component, although I could. But I mean, I prefer to actually do it in my application layer. So, you know, nothing changes, right? So I want to create the code that I can easily remove it and don't break the working. So what's happening here is I still want to dispatch a select category, and then the select category will go to my reducer and, you know, change my state and do all the stuff. But the only difference I want to do is whenever I register my effect, this is the effect that dispatches an action to another things. I want to use another effect that I prepared before, which is called EDA effect. So this makes things decoupled. So how does it look? So obviously the action goes through the reducer, and then I can subscribe to it in my effect. And then in my effect, it's very similar. Let me do it side by side. Okay, so you see, in this example, I'm coupling with the notify action inside of my effect. And in this example, I replaced that communication point with my event bus. It's called application bus in this example. So here I have a dispatcher that dispatches category selected event. And that's it. That's the only difference. But it's a big difference, because if I do it for all information in my application, I will not have a coupling points. Look, I couple only with the events and application bus. I don't have that couple point with this. It is great. I believe the EDA and NGRX go very well together. So here we go. And then that's it. Okay, but then how do we actually get it, right? How do we get it in another place? Well, looking at the example, I need to have this point, right? I need to somehow handle it. So I have something called event handler. Let me show it to you. So I go to the module that wants to receive that event. In my example, that would be, for example, the products or notifications as well. And then in here, I have store, which is the application layer. And then I also have the event handler, which is this adapter between the event bus and the store. And I have a type of the event that I want to handle. In this case, it's going to be category selected. And then check it out. I can remove this. Check it out. I have my handler, which implements the application event handler interface. And it's really handy because I will show you how I actually provide it later. But generally, all I have to do is to make it injectable and then tell to which event I want to listen to. I want to listen to category selected event. And then when that event happens, this method handle will be called. So whenever this event appears, the handle will be called with the type of the event. And here I want to dispatch the store notify. So you might say, but isn't that coupling? Well, no, because I'm in the same module. The notify is part of my notification module. So obviously I want to dispatch it. So I can dispatch it for my components, and I can also dispatch it from my event handlers. So now I have two adapters that can call my application layer on the same action. It's pretty cool. I could even dispatch it from my resolvers. So think about it as adding an extra layer called adapters in Hexagon. This is the primary adapter that comes in into my application, and then I just dispatch the same action on my store, on my application layer. This is very handy. So then, business goes as usual, but we get no coupling. So this is pretty cool. Please, guys, I know it's pretty complex and complicated. I try to keep it very simple, but please write your questions. I will leave the 10 minutes in the end when we can actually talk about it, okay? So here we go. We have this event handling, which is pretty neat. No coupling. So let's talk how it can be done. You see, obviously I have to couple through something. I couple through events and I couple through event bus, but this is application concern. Event is just a DTO. I'm going to talk about it just in a second. It's pretty loosely coupled because these are the feature modules. They don't know about each other. It's super neat, really. That's make our development a lot better. Okay, so there are some rules when you go with EDA. Very important things. First, events must not depend on module. So imagine I have in my notifications library, I will have a notification model. It could be just an interface, or it could be a class if you use domain-driven design. But generally, it's sort of it's some domain, it's some business model that represents a very important concept in my module, right? In products, that would be a product. In category, that would be a category. So do not put that into your events, because that way you create coupling. If we have a bit of time later, I can show you, but just make sure an event is something that has happened in the past, just now, and then just use the primitive types as much as possible. Don't couple your domain models in there. Then the other thing is kiss your events, which simply means keep it stupid simple. Like really, primitive types are absolute best. Don't put all your models, just, remap them to something that your clients needs. Keep it to minimum, because the more things you add, the more maintenance you add to your system. You don't want that. Talk to your clients, or clients, I mean other modules that want to communicate with you. Talk to them and say, hey, can we just keep an ID there, right? And then you can fetch it on your own. That would be the best. Don't put the whole modules. Then make sure you send only one event from each effect function. This is very important because, events are multicasting by nature. As you already saw in the diagram, one event can be consumed by many. It can be consumed by 0 modules. It's just gonna, fire and forget. That's it. It can be consumed by one module. It can be consumed by many modules. So they are broadcasting by nature. So make sure you send only one event, because think about it. Something has happened in your system, like category was selected. Don't think in commands, like actions are commands. So that you actually do something. Think about it, something has happened. That's very helpful. And then keep all your events in events library, because then you reduce the coupling in between the modules. Okay, what are the benefits? So, we talk a lot about, those, that is so good, but you need to buy it in, because there are many benefits in many categories. One is the architectural benefits. So you create scalability opportunities in your application, because now you can add as many modules as you want. They are not coupled, and it scales perfectly, because you can add horizontally as many modules as you want, and they're going to talk to the same event bus. And trust me, event bus is not a scalable problem. Like, it doesn't have a scalability problem, because it's very simple. It's just sending and subscribing, sending and subscribing. That's very simple. And then it's also better for maintainability, because if you want to do some refactor, you don't do all your application refactor. You can tackle one library at a time. Actually, right now in our company, we are refactoring 60,000 lines of code in one of the products. And we actually, by using the event-driven architecture, we realized we copied a lot of code in between the modules, and we reduced it to 18,000 lines of code. So imagine more than 50%, more than 60% of our application is just copy-paste from the other place. And by using event-driven architecture, we reduce that. Then logability. This is pretty cool, because you have one event bus in whole application, right? So you can just add a pipeable operator like map or tab or whatever. And there you will add your logging. You can add your Sentry, Datadog, or console logs, whatever you want to do. It's very good for knowing what is happening in your system. You can even put your Google Analytics in there. And that way you're going to stream those events. And it's pretty nice. And testability is also high, because now when I want to test one module, I can just stub out or mock my event bus, and that's it. And I don't have to drag all those things from other places just to make it work. I don't like my test bed is very lean. It's just application bus, service, or store, and that's it. And I can test my components without any dependencies. Now, developer experience tends to be a lot better too. So why? Because you have a lower cognitive load. Now you can get your developers to focus on their module only, and just be aware of sending events. That's pretty low cognitive load. Then also it gives you the architectural freedom. This is very big for us in Cobira. Imagine if you have an enterprise, you might be tempted to force your users, your developers, to adhere to certain architecture. But I believe I've been architect for many years, and I don't believe there is one architecture that solves it all. Some architectures are really good for specific use cases, and some others are better for the other use cases. For example, CQRS is great for certain amounts of application, like maybe builders and stuff like this, where just a simple fetch it from the service, push it to component, and that's it. Why would you put all your store and all your NGRX? It's heavy for your bundles. And so if you don't need to, don't do it. But then you get the EDA on top of it, which can be injected in any of the layers. It could be even used in a component. And if it's okay to just use a simple one, use a simple one. It gives you architectural freedom. That's awesome, because it's like maybe you have a junior development team, maybe they are not as experienced, and now you have to teach them all the advanced stuff like NGRX and stuff. Maybe it's not needed. Maybe we can just give them the module and say, hey, work on this module, just make it a service and smart component, and that's it. Don't overcomplicate it. And then, whenever you submit some form or something, just send the event on this event bus, and, you prepare the event for them, and that's it. And then the rest of the modules can react to it. So it's really good, because actually what we do in Cobira, we start with a simple architecture first, then we go to state, then we go to command bus, and then eventually we'll end up in CQRS if we have to. But generally, it gives us the freedom of choosing the architecture for each module, because there is no one architecture for all modules. Each module decides on its own architecture. That's really good. And then also there is easier debugging. You see, you can very easily log all in dev mode, log all your events. So when you start clicking or moving or trying to find the bug, it's easy, because after which events bug happen. Sometimes it's not so obvious. Okay, there is business benefits. You can go to your boss and talk about the business benefits of EDA, and especially to your product people, they're gonna love it. So what are the business benefits? Well, it tracks user interactions over time, which is really good. It's actually laying the foundation for advanced topics like event sourcing in your application. Generally think about it this way. You think in terms of events, not in terms of user clicking the button. That gives you a huge benefit because, there is this pattern called active record, right? So generally you can inject, you have only one source of truth in your data, right? Whether it's in database, local storage, or whatever. So when your business people come in, or product people come in and look in your data, they will see only the snapshot of the current state. That's not good because, let's imagine I go in on a website and I add a bunch of users and then I delete them. I will only see the snapshot of the current state. I will only see that this user has no users under. But in fact, I did have them. It's just that I delete them afterwards. And that, for the product people, is very valuable information because, in your statistics or in your analytics reports, it can show up as you have a lot of users that don't do anything in the system. But in fact, they do a lot of things, but then they delete it. And then your product people can contact them and ask, why did you delete it? What was the reason? And then that way, you can actually drive your product to be a lot better because it can be, for example, what we found out, that there is a knowing feature that makes user actually delete parts of the system, or maybe they didn't feel whatever trustworthy, or they didn't feel trusted, and then you have to just talk to them, and then you realize that, hey, actually we have a pretty problem that is easily fixable, and then it helped us grow our user base much bigger. And then also it helps you to experiment with the flow because now the modules are loosely coupled, right? So I can just delete a module, it will not affect the rest. I can add the module, I can add feature flags, and then, I can do A/B testing because the modules are not coupled. And that's really good because then I can have one version and the other version, and it's only switching the flag that is ngIf on top of template. And that works. Trust me, we have a lot of feature flags in our system. Okay, so what have you learned by now? Well, I hope you learn how to identify tightly coupled NGRX modules. I hope you also learned about the components of EDA, which is the event bus. We call it application bus. What are the events, how to structure the events, why they're important, and then also what is the event dispatcher, which is the class that actually dispatches things on event bus, and what is event handler. This is the one that actually subscribes to those events and pushes it downward to your system. And then we also learn how to implement EDA in your Angular project. I know it's very, you would like to see probably more code. So I'm going to show you the GitHub repo just in a second. And then also we learned about the benefits of EDA, both architectural, developer experience, and business benefits. So thank you. I hope you have some questions. We have the 10 minutes left. Again, my name is Greg Radio. You can find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about senior concepts. I don't talk basic stuff. So you can just go there and subscribe. Please do so. And then also, please keep an eye on our GitHub .com/Kobiro/EDA. This is where it's not yet the official open source NPM package that you can just use it, but there will be example. You can just copy it to your projects. Please star the GitHub repo, leave us some comments, and then we'll be happy to help. So yeah, with that being said, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Greg, for that wonderful talk. So our community learned a lot from using NGRX. So yeah, guys, so if you have questions, you can comment here in our FB Live. So I think we have one, right? So yeah, it's from Jesreel. So his question is, can EDA be used with other state management like NGXS?
Absolutely, yes. Actually, we use NGXS first. We didn't use NGRX in our application. So it's pretty much the same. It can be used with even Akita if you would like to, right? So generally think about it. You have your action handler, and then in your action handler, you would do the processing of your domain. And then in the end, the last line, you can just output this dispatcher.dispatch and the name of the event that just happened. So it's pretty much the same. Yeah, in NGRX, it's in the effect, so it's nice and clean. But in NGXS, in your action handler with the action decorator, the last line you put is the EDA dispatcher.
Okay. Yeah. So EDA is very flexible, so you can use it either in NGXS, and Akita. Okay. So guys, if you have any more questions, yeah, just comment down in our FB Live. So I think they haven't have questions yet. I think they're still thinking. They're still absorbing the information. So going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay. So I think yeah. So guys, if you missed this talk, so our Angular community will just post this on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and still you can replay it on our FB community. So once again, Greg, thank you very much for that great talk, and we really learned a lot. And Angular community, our Angular Philippines community is really great to have you in our event. Okay.
Thank you very much. Actually, it looks very impressive with all the streaming tools and stuff. So, props for you. I think you do a great job. So very professional. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And hoping to have you again in our next event. Yes, okay. So guys, once again, this is Angular Tech Talks 2021, and thank you very much for everyone who tuned in into our event. So once again, yeah, if you want to be updated in our events, so just go to Angular Philippines website and angularph.org. That's our link, so you can check out our next events, seminars, and upcoming workshops. So just go to our new website. Okay. And if you want to be the volunteer as well, and you can also join us in our team. And if you want to volunteer and at the same time you want to be a community lead, so you are welcome to join us. So just go to our website, angularph.org, and go to contact us and just select the volunteer application, and you can submit it on our email. And yeah, thank you to all of our partners. This event would not be possible without you. So thank you, Progressive Web App Pilipinas. Thank you, NASA Space App Challenge, and Angel Hack Philippines. And yeah, NASA Space App Challenge, this will be happen on October 2 to 3. And they have themed their hackathon as the power of 10. So guys, if you have a great idea and you have your own brilliant idea, so you can join NASA, and this is one of the largest hackathons rather here in the world. So if you want to know more about NASA, so just go to spaceapps.co, and after that you can directly register on the hackathon. And yeah, also we are also partnered with Impact Hackathon 5G. So they are the first 5G hackathon here in the Philippines, and currently they're now on their fourth vertical already. So it's happening October 7 to 9, and it's a 3-day hackathon, and you will just code your idea for 48 hours. So don't hesitate to join Impact Hackathon. And actually, I'm also one of the mentors here in the hackathon. So don't hesitate to join this hackathon, and especially if you have a brilliant idea. Okay. And yeah, if you want to register, just go to impacthub.ph hackathons, and this is called Impact 2050. Okay, so once again, thank you guys for tuning in our Angular Philippine Tech Talk 2021, and this would not really be possible without you guys. And I hope you learned this a lot, and even though it's late at night, so you still tuned in our event. So if you missed if you missed this event, so we will upload it in YouTube, and at the same time you can replay it on our FB community. So once again, guys, thank you very much, and just watch our sponsor videos with our hackathons.
Picture Quezon City as a future haven for entrepreneurship and creation. And today, you are going to create things that we could not even imagine.
Exciting days ahead. Welcome to the biggest hackathon.
Open your mind, you wanna see what I see. Gold boulevards.
This is Impact Hackathon. So this is idea to an MVP. How much time do you have to do the demo? 3 long minutes.
Moving forward, ang inyong mga made-develop dito will be hopefully useful para sa ating bansa. Impact Hackathon.
C'est ma vie. C'est ma vie. Young and free, that's my life. C'est ma vie. C'est ma vie.
From these, 50 national winners will be chosen, to whom 10 million pesos worth of prizes will be given.
Enjoy, have fun as you put together your solutions, and we look forward to seeing the outcomes of what you create tomorrow.
You know, if I said that this is a dream come true, I would be lying, because never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that we would ever get to mount anything here at the Big Dome.
Good morning, hackers. Welcome to the Big Dome. And welcome to the world's largest hackathon.
To be honest, lahat po ng global ay local din. Ayaw ho natin na mabuhay sa isang lipunan na tanggap na lang na merong mga problema na hindi mareresolba, na merong mga problema na hindi kayang hanapan ng solusyon. Kayo po na nandito, compete today but collaborate tomorrow. That's something we need to see more of in our country.
I believe in your creativity. Yan po ang paniwala ng ating gobyerno na lahat po tayo sa Pilipinas may pag-asang mag-develop ng mga solusyon sa problema so that we can have a great country just like what our president would like to have.
Pag may problema ng climate change, problema ng transport, pwede natin makita yan bilang global issues. Pero alam ko po, yung pinakamalapit sa puso natin, yung naranasan natin sa ating araw-araw na buhay.
Rush hour Monday. EDSA can accommodate about 280,000 vehicles days of the latest Volvo vehicles crossing EDSA as a Christmas season.
Everyone here is competing. Yes, we are all competitors, but after the time is up at nag-submit na kayo, nag-pitch na kayo, the winners, the losers, the participants, I hope we find ways to collaborate. Ang mga apps po natin, ang gawa ho natin, the things that we will create today, alam naman ho natin, hindi lang yan galing sa ating utak, galing rin sa ating puso, galing sa ating tiyan, galing sa ating karanasan.
It started as a really small desire.
As we try to tackle these global problems, we look and try to solve our situation where we are.
I think it's about time that we allow ourselves to dream again.
Look at the number of people that came And I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot about the culture that's here, the investment that's made in you, and how they want to see a better country, a better future.
Hindi siya love problem, ha? It's how much impact you will do for your country.
That is the purpose of this hackathon. To transform Quezon City with your health into a haven of technology, of entrepreneurship and innovation.
Sa lahat ng mga kapwa kong nangangarap para sa isang bayan na nangunguna sa teknolohiya at pagbabago, the Impact Hackathon is not just about numbers.
Impact doesn't happen in isolation. It's through collective action.
By your creative power, you are going to put the Philippines on the map and change the world.
Are you ready for the countdown? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, I'm Thomas Surpok, an Associate Administrator for Science here at NASA, and I'm so happy to welcome you to SpaceSaps. SpaceSaps is a community of scientists, engineers, artists, and hackers coming together to address key issues here on Earth. At the heart of SpaceSaps are data that come to us from spacecraft that are flying around Earth and are looking at our world, and we ask you to take those data to learn new things that help us. To learn more, go to spaceapschallenge.org or join the conversation at #SpaceSaps.